Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Esports Racing League's 6th season, the Summer Tour, presented by Spec Racer Sports, Alliance Autosport, and Grassroots Motorsports Magazine here on Apex Racing TV. Over the course of our 9-week regular season and then the winner-take-all runoffs, we hope to bring you some of the best racing around in 3 different classes well known to club racers here in the United States: Spec Miata, Spec Racer Ford, and Formula 4. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Tim Cox in the commentary booth, and of course we've got Dennis Branch in the virtual production trailer. And after taking last week off to celebrate our nation's 246th birthday, tonight we head to the sleepy little village in central New York that held its first Grand Prix 70 years ago on the town streets, and whose purpose-built circuit, constructed just a few years later, became the first permanent home of the United States Formula One Grand Prix. It's a venue known as much for its speed as for the Blue Armco that still rings the track, much as it did when our heroes like Mario Andretti, Jackie Stewart, and Francois Savert sought the ultimate pace and sometimes paid the ultimate price. Tonight we travel to the mecca of North American road racing and its 3.4 miles of power and fury. Welcome everybody to Watkins Glen International. And as we do each week, tonight we're going to feature 2 20-minute sprint races. First on track, as you can see here right now, Spec Miata, followed a little bit later tonight by Spec Racer Ford, and we'll see those Formula 4 racers rejoin us next week when they have their 3rd race of the season. And so, Tim, good evening. How are you this evening? And welcome to Lake Seneca, Montour Falls, and of course, WGI.
I absolutely love this place. Of course, known locally and affectionately as the Glen, now owned by NASCAR. This circuit just works on so many levels, whether you're doing multi-class endurance or sprint races. Like we're going to see today, a nice 20 minutes race in the Miata or MX-5, depending on which side of the pond you're from. It's a car we all started out in our iRacing careers with. Of course, now you do have the option of the Formula V as well. But it just still provides absolutely epic action. You can throw them around, you can bang doors, and I'm sure we're going to see plenty of that tonight. Action hotspots at the bus stop chicane and down into turn 1, the 90. I can feel the hairs on my arms standing up on end because I just know how good this is going to be.
And I can practically see them standing on edge from all the way over here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So Tim, I think you said it here. The Glen, it may not be the perfect racetrack for the MX-5s, for the Miatas, but it's got everything. One, it's a very fast circuit. It's got fairly long runs that will allow these MX-5s, these Miatas, to stretch their legs, but more importantly, it allow them to take advantage of the draft. It's got corners that, in most cases, with the exception of turn 9, very heavily cambered, allows the drivers to, one, if they hit their marks correctly, carry speed through the corners. If they don't hit their marks correctly, it certainly can impact their speed coming out of the corners. And as we watch the 84 machine, of Jason Nazario, new with us this week here on the Esports Racing League, a racer out of Puerto Rico, normally racing with the SCCA, as he pounded the wall coming out of the bus stop. You can see there, it is a track that also, while it will certainly complement your speed and being able to hit your marks, with that blue arm code just inches off the side of the track everywhere you look, it is a track that certainly can bite you if you get it wrong.
Greg, I'm going to disagree with you. I know we've only just started this show, but you're saying that, maybe this circuit isn't suited to the Miatas. I'm going to heavily disagree with you on that one. This circuit is just brilliant because there's so numerous lines through so many of the corners. Through the carousel, for example, you can easily get too wide there, or through just as we're seeing now heading through the heel as well, you can make it too wide through there too. It's absolutely brilliant for overtaking, as you said, chance to stretch their legs all the way up to the bus stop, down the back straights, and I think we're going to see lots of overtaking. For me, the last couple of corners are always a little bit tricky, a bit off camber as well. There's a few bumps in there, so I think that's going to be a tricky one for our drivers on the first couple of laps, certainly first lap, where they've got cold tyres, the car's starting to warm up as well, and the field's heavily compacted too. I think it's going to be a lot of jockeying and jostling for position. And, well, I mean, just look at the qualifying times right now. In half a second, covering our top 4, of which there's less than a tenth involved from second to fourth.
The fourth, yeah.
Uber close out there, and I think that's just showcasing what we're going to see tonight. And, well, just the first driver to head into the 207s there, only just Greg, with a 207.99 is Soto. You can see him there in the 07 machine. Well, you can see just showcasing obviously the new updated track to iRacing there. We can run really, really wide out of the heel now. You never used to be able to. There's a massive gravel trap there previously. There's a bit of confusion there.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's having trouble over at turn 9 right now. Yeah, and that's one of the things is they updated the scan here on iRacing to bring in some of the changes that were put in place at Watkins Glen actually about 7 years ago, where a lot of the gravel traps that had existed previously, like for example right over here coming out of turn 8, coming out of the heel of the boot and heading up then towards turn 9, also down at the 90 at turn 1, all of those areas now, and also coming out of turn 10, the very, very fast turn 10, have all been paved over. They've removed those gravel traps, and yes, you may get incident points if you run a little wide, but you can still carry a lot of speed around this track, even if you're off the track surface. You maybe you don't get penalized as heavily as some of the racers did at the Red Bull Ring this last weekend for the Formula One race, but certainly it allows drivers, if they do get off the circuit, to continue on. Real quick, Tim, let me jump back. It was, of course, we took last week off. Let me just quickly jump back and give you the finishing order for the MX-5 race at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park at Mosport 2 weeks ago, where Morgan Burkhard, and that is another incredibly fast course. Morgan Burkhard took the win over Caleb Patry, about a half second separating them. Jamison Huffman only 65 thousandths of a second back from Patry. Took the last step on the podium with Jordy Fike and Sean Hayes, who I don't see out on track currently tonight. Sean Hayes finished in 5th, and if we take a look at the point standings after 2 races of 6 this season complete in the Miatas, Jamison Huffman currently your points leader. And I don't see Jamison here tonight either. Jordy Fike currently sitting second in the points with 33. 1 point back from there, Zach Burke, and then Beans Forster and Wanchi Lin at 28 points and 27 points respectively. And it's not that much further back till we get to Giancarlo Schooler and Deacon Greenfield. Greenfield currently running 4th in qualifying here. Both of those drivers tied for 6th in the championship, but still very, very close in the points, and even running all the way back through the top 10. Only 1 to 2 points, as you can see there on screen, separating our drivers. Very tight in competition, but again, only a third of the way through the championship at this point.
For me, during qualifying at the moment, currently in 11th, Yang Lin. He's going to be the dark horse for me. If he doesn't move up through the field, he's incredibly quick. We see him regularly on the SRF Weekend Warriors here on Apex Racing TV, battling at the front. And he's a bit of an outside bet for me, a bit of a dark horse, and especially if he's going to start down in 11th, just on an out lap now, Greg. I mean, qualifying coming right to end, so he's not going to get a lap in to improve his time, but starting from the 6th row of the grid, that's going to be one to watch out for in the 30 machine.
Absolutely, and there are a couple of drivers a little bit further back in the field that are with us for the very first time tonight. We'll talk about them maybe a little bit as the race goes on. As the checkered flag, as you've mentioned, has come out on qualifying here. And at the moment, Josh Soto is your provisional pole sitter. We'll run down the starting grid here in just a moment, but we do give the drivers a 15-minute qualifying session before that 20-minute race as we continue to watch Wanchi Lin on his final flying lap here, and we'll see if he can improve upon the 2:10.08 that he ran last time, which was good, as you mentioned, for 11th position. A little surprised that he is that far back in the pack, as he has been recently running usually within the top 3, top 4 here in the Esports Racing League. But things are winding down. Josh Soto is your provisional pole sitter. Currently, Zach Burke in the number 13 machine, provisionally on the outside of row 1. Then Morgan Burkhard and Deacon Greenfield, the 2 All Sports Racing teammates, currently 3rd and 4th. And as you mentioned, so close in qualifying here. Only about 3/10 separating Soto and Burke, and only looks like 200ths of a second, maybe 300ths of a second separating Burkhard and Greenfield. So really tight up here as Wanchi Lin brings his car down into the pits. And I think we still have maybe 1 or 2 cars that are out on track, but we should have them start the grid up here in just a moment, Tim.
Greg, one driver that really stands out for me for having an outstanding qualifying is Deacon Greenfield. To put in perspective, his I rating is 1,400, so his ability rating, as you were. All of the drivers around him are 4,000 roughly on average. He's had an absolutely outstanding qualifying to get up into 4th place, 2nd row of the grid. Hopefully he can hold on to it, because as Brits, we love an underdog, and I would love nothing more to see him on the podium today.
Absolutely, and a neat story, Tim. Like some of the other drivers in the field tonight, like Morgan Burkhard, Deacon Greenfield just got his competition license in the Sports Car Club of America this spring. He was my student at his competition licensing school, and he actually got into motorsports with his father, racing remote control cars, and from there moved up into to go-karts, and now into race cars. And you'll actually notice when you watch him out there in his, I believe, the number 36 machine. I think it's actually, when you look at the paint job, it's actually livery to 75. It actually matches his real world Spec Miata. So it'll be interesting to watch here. But I think, Dennis, we should be able to pull up the grid here soon enough, correct? We're still waiting. We're still waiting for iRacing to advance the session. So still going to be another moment here. But again, we mentioned a moment ago Jason Nazario, who is joining us. He is a Honda Civic racer out of Puerto Rico, and we'll talk about some of the other new racers to join us here this evening. But Tim, why don't you run down the starting grid for tonight's race, and we'll talk about our sponsor, and we'll get things rolling.
I'd absolutely love to. So Joshua Soto claiming pole position here in Watkins Glen at round 4. He's going to have the Canadian Zach Beck joining him on the front row. Morgan Burkhard and Deacon Greenfield. As mentioned, Greenfield, obviously just previously, outstanding qualifying from him. To be only 3/10 off the pace as well. Absolutely incredible. Caleb Patry, he's got Greg Mack for company on the 3rd row, and Jordy Fike has Kyle Vallejos alongside him on the 4th row of the grid. Nagasa Yoshikawa, he's got Beans Forster with him, and that's going to round out your top 10 and the 5th row of the grid. Yangji Lin, mentioned him in the build-up, out of position, a little bit like Yoshikawa as well, who's starting just behind. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch those two come through the field. Vaccaro joins Lynn on the 6th row of the grid. And then we've got John Casey and Stephen Blethen. That takes you up to 14th place with Bengal and Laurie. That's up to 16th place. The 9th row of the grid. That's Joaquin Effinger and Don Manning. And Jason Nazario didn't set a time. He's going to round out our 19-car grid here in the Spec Miata race at Watkins Glen.
All right, and as the pace car now starts to bring the field up through the S's here at Watkins Glen, let's talk about our sponsor for tonight's first race, and that is Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. Built for the true enthusiast, GRM has one mission: to be your personal guide to the sports car world. Whether it's online at grassrootsmotorsports.com, in print, or in person, the racers and builders, the car nerds at Grassroots Motorsports, take you behind the scenes and show you how to make your car better. Along the way, they'll give you a taste of everything else this hobby has to offer, from 1,000 horsepower track monsters to cool street cars built in driveways. They also maintain a collection of staff-built project cars, because hands-on technical articles aren't typed behind a desk. They're scribbled down in the garage. To not only read but become part of the story, head on over to grassrootsmotorsports.com. All right, so Tim, as we've got the pace lap underway here, we've talked about Jason Nazario out of Puerto Rico. We also have Tom Laurie, who I believe has spent a good amount of time in the Weekend Warriors Spec Racer Ford League, and so he is driving the number 260 car, as you mentioned, starting I think 16th tonight. We'll see how he does. And now here's the interesting one, and I know he's very new to iRacing. Driving the number 50 car is Stephen Blethen. Stephen's out of New England. He's got a lot of seat time in the real world at Watkins Glen. Last year at the Sports Car Club of America's National Championship runoffs at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he was your pole sitter in the Touring 4 class, and he finished 3rd at the runoffs in 2019 at Virginia International Raceway. So certainly knows his way behind the wheel of Mazdas. Just maybe not so much in the virtual world. I actually raced against him a couple weeks ago at a virtual VIR, and I think it's more a sign of how poor I am behind the wheel than how new he is behind the wheel. But we had a pretty good scrap here. So we'll see how he does. Again, he's currently sitting back, I think, in 14th position. Again, in the number 50 machine, you can see him there on the right-hand side of your screen. As the pace car brings the field now through turn 10, one more corner to go, and we will get things underway here from WGI for our first race of the evening here in the Ray Esports Racing League's Summer Tour. Pace car now is going to break all the way to the right onto the pit lane, and your pole sitter, Josh Soto, has the field. He's got Zach Burke beside him, and green flag is in the air. And look at this, as Zach Burke gets a great start. Soto getting the push right now from Morgan Burkhard in the number 40 machine, in that blue and yellow livery machine, but not enough to push Soto back up to the lead. We have the two teammates, though, Deacon Greenfield and Morgan Burkhard, side by side as they come up through the S's, and we've got Caleb Patry, another one of their teammates, looking for a way through. And you know, this is where the draft really starts to come into play, Tim, as they come up through the S's and onto that short shoot down towards the bus stop, towards the inner loop, where this is probably the prime passing location. We'll see if anybody chooses to do it on lap 1.
The field's got away incredibly clean. In no instance, hopefully that's not Spike bringing the curse to the commentator. Zach Berg getting incredibly loose. As you bounce across the curbs, it's so easy to lose the rear end and drift it round, and really showcasing now this fight how you can run 2 different lines through the carousel, Greg. And it is ever so close out there. We knew it'd be tight in this opening lap, but these guys, they're doing it so cleanly.
Yeah, and especially since you know, the tire is being cold, especially as they jumped over the curbing there, going through the inner loop, through the bus stop, to every one of the drivers being able to hold on to those cars. Very good car control here as the field now starting to line up, all single file, heading down into the heel of the boot. The one outlier, you can see him there, is the 76 machine. Pardon me, that was the 78 of John Casey. He gets back into line. Wanshi Lin going at it right now with Nagasa Yoshikawa in the 98 machine just ahead of him. Oh, and Greenfield taps the wall coming out of turn 9, Tim. That one off-camber turn, and I always in real life find that turn probably the most challenging, most difficult at Watkins Glen, even though it's one of the slowest.
I completely agree with you. The new version of Watkins, the rescanned model, a lot easier because it's lost. There was a horrific bump on the inside the corner there, which has now been ironed out, as we see Burkhard giving Berg the real hurry up there, pushing along, basically bump drafting on the run down to the 90, but pulls out of the slipstream. And well, I think we've already had one casualty of a driver losing their wing mirror. I get the feeling we're not going to be far away from another driver losing one of their wing mirrors.
All right, and here we go as they come up through the S's. A little bit of a breakaway now. Soto with a car length and a half, maybe 2 car lengths on Zach Burke. Then Morgan Burkhard over to his right, and Patry trying to push Morgan Burkhard up past the 13 machine. And it is a spin here. 3 cars. It's Burkhard. It is Burke
Soto.
And also Soto all go around going into the bus stop. And it looked like we had some more incidents there. It looks like Burke has gotten into trouble coming out of the bus stop. Also involving the 700 of Joaquin Effinger. It looked like Stephen Blethen in the 50 car might have gotten caught up with that as well. And the 2 cars, and maybe the big surprise here, the 2 cars to get out scot-free, Tim, Caleb Patry in the 198 machine, who I thought might have gotten caught up in that initial incident, might have given Burkhard maybe a little late tap going into the bus stop. He is your new leader, Deacon Greenfield, who was about 4 car lengths back from that lead 4. He is now sitting in second place. Pardon me, I take that back. It is Zach Burke in the 13 machine sitting up front there. Then Patry, then Greenfield, then Mack, then Forster, then Yoshikawa, and Wanshi Lin. So big change here up front. Let's take a look at the replay.
So, as you can see, our group lost it, and then Burke, where they're bouncing across the curb, incredibly tight coming through the field, it's just that initial bit of contact that then settles on top 2 and sends them out of control. Now, Burke, as you can see, there's that secondary contact, but there's a further contact that happens. So as he's rejoining the track, Greg, he just gets caught across the curb, bouncing across it in the grass and settles the car. And we're going to see any second now, further contact, bang! 3 other cars gone and caught up, the innocent bystanders. Now, what Burke did is he cut out the boot, and that's why initially appeared as our leader, for he's taking a shortcut. Our leaders were coming around fast. He'd only got 3 wheels on his wagon, but amazingly, he's managed to get it back somehow, some way. But that's completely shaken things up, and Deacon Greenfield, I said about earlier, you know, it'd be great to have him on the podium with his incredibly low iRacing. I say incredibly low. He's got a bang average iRacing, and it is 1400.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's absolutely having a barnstorming race right now. Second place some might say it's gifted to him, but you've got to be there to take these opportunities, Greg, when they're presented to you.
Absolutely you do, Tim. And so Beans Forster, who started in 10th position, he is now up into 3rd, leading that second pack of cars. There he is in that blue number 231 machine. He's got about 4 car lengths on Yoshikawa in the 98 with Wan Chi Lin, Jordy Fike, Morgan Burkhard, who looks as though he was both he and Fike maybe getting through that initial incident without the damage, of course, that we saw from Zach Burke, and it looks like Greg Mack also got caught up in that 3rd and final bang there, as did Joaquin Effinger, and an early trip to the pit lane for Stephen Blethen after I had talked him up for so much to start this race, but just in the wrong place at the wrong time there.
The curse of the commentator, alive and well here at the Glen, is on board with Lynn. I said to watch out for him. Yes, he has picked up some place due to that incident, but now up into 5th. That's a gain of 6 places. Nazario, he's had a blinder. Started at the back, now currently in 11th, Greg. So he's making epic progress. Sota's still out there and running, but however, he has been demoted all the way down to 10th. As we see Vicaro on the Zach.
Yeah, exactly, and probably a little bit of damage to Soto's 07 machine as well. We'll see if he can make a recovery run there, as he's sitting back right behind Andrew Benna in the 71 machine, who has made up 6 positions. And good to see there, as you mentioned, Jason Nazario having worked his way up through the field and having a great start here again with a lot of carnage around him, but after not having set a time in qualifying and starting at the tail end of the field, I'm sure he's very happy to find himself in 11th position after making up 8 positions.
See Lin, he's picked up another placer. That's past Yoshikawa, who's dropped another place, having to hang it right around the outside. Morgan Burkhard getting past him, so Yoshikawa's dropped all the way from 4th to 6th in the space of 2 corners, Greg. Not what he would have wanted, but Lin, now he's clear of them. He's now going to get into the back of the 231 machine. Beans Forster. You see the wipers coming on there on the number 30. In preparation to... Oh, Greg, this is close.
There we go, as Soto tries to go underneath Andrew Benna, coming into the toe of the boot, and trying to follow him through is the 84 of Nazario, trying to take advantage of the hole that Soto has opened up. Nazario cannot get around the 71 machine, though Soto now makes his way up into 9th position. And we'll see here, but Nazario is starting to look very racy again. Pretty accomplished club racer out of Puerto Rico, driving in the Super Touring Under class in a front wheel drive machine. Obviously a little bit different here in these very well balanced MX-5s or Miatas compared to the Honda Civic that he's accustomed to running.
Not sure if the Honda Civic drivers out there would quite agree with you on being well balanced.
No, not well balanced. As a Honda CRX and Civic racer, I can tell you, not very well balanced.
Who doesn't love a bit of torque steer in the morning?
And a rear end with no weight on it. Yes, exactly.
Well, I tell you what, Forster, he's clinging on for dear life right now to that 3rd and last podium place and getting absolutely swarmed by Lynn and Burkhard. It's who's going to position their car in the right place into the bus stop is going to gain places, or for Beans Forster's case, might even lose places here, Greg.
There you go, and we've got Wan Chi Lin trying to push Forster up a little bit as the hole opened up for Burkhard going down the inside. Burkhard now is going to take over 4th position now as he gets around Wan Chi Lin, but Yoshikawa gets around Lin as well as they went down into the bus stop. And Burkhard is going to try to beat Forster down into turn 6, down through the carousel, and he's going to make that pass stick. And we now have Morgan Burkhard back up into 3rd position, and if you take a look, that advantage that Deacon Greenfield had over 3rd place and back starting to disappear very quickly. Such is the power of the draft here at Watkins Glen.
Well, to Greenfield is going to be hoping for and praying for, which is starting to happen, is the infighting of this following pack, the peloton, if you will. Where you've got, starting off with Burkhard, Forster, Lynn, Yoshikawa, Fikes in there as well. So Ficaro is going to see a change for third here. I think this is getting tight, Greg.
Yeah, and Burkhard goes to try to sneak underneath Greenfield going into turn number 9. Turn in very early there. Greenfield gave him a lot of room on exit. Burkhard had to get back in line as they come through turn 11 and onto the front straight to complete lap number 5. Greenfield is, for the moment, going to hold on to second place. Of course, our leader, Caleb Patry, has opened up now about a 6-car length advantage on the rest of the field. Burkhard now is able to draft right on by the 36 machine going into the 90. Morgan Burkhard now moves back up to second, but as you can see, the gap now up to our leader, Caleb Patry, a full 2 seconds. At this point, you know, even though we are more than halfway through this 20-minute race, Tim, it might do well for Greenfield, Forster, and some of the drivers right behind Burkhard to maybe cease the battling for a little bit and see if they can draft up to our leader, Patry. But at this moment, contact Greenfield and Wanshi Lin, and it looks like Forster might have been involved with that contact as well. And Forster now loses actually 3 positions. Forster now drops all the way back into 6th position as Wanshi Lin, Greenfield, and Yoshikawa all get around going into the bus stop.
Wow, for Burkhard, it works. I did wonder coming down into the 90 when he made that move to go for second over Greenfield, had he gone too soon, because Greenfield was going to get the slipstream all the way through the S's, up the back straight and into the bus stop chicane. But then that's where we had the contact, and well, Lynn nearly lost it there, and sent shooting across the right, held and collected the car, and out of all of the melee and the cacophony of drama that was happening, he managed to sneak his way up into the podium positions. Now up 8 places, Greg. He's on an absolute flyer.
All right,
let's get the replay there.
Yeah, let's take a look at the replay here as they come down onto the front straight. You can see Lynn moved over driver's right to try to take that run down into the bus stop. Greenfield got a little bit loose, maybe moved over, thought about coming down the inside of Morgan Burkhard, and found Wanshi Lin right where he meant to go. And Lin managed to gather it back up, and as you saw there, actually got around the 36 machine to take over that last step on the
Lin's in the wall. Lin just smacked the wall on the exit out of the final corner there, Greg, and look, he's compromising. Greenfield sails past him, and he couldn't even leave the place to Yoshikawa into the 90.
And here we go as Greenfield now takes over third position. Yoshikawa moves around Wanshi Lin as well, moves into 4th. And looks like Beans Forster now looking to see if he can take advantage of this as well, as again now they come up through the S's, and here is where the draft really starts to come into play. But for the moment, it looks like Greenfield might have maybe just enough gap that he's not going to have to worry going down into the bus stop.
Well, he's going to play a defensive here, Greg, potentially, but with all the side-by-side action behind him, hold tight, here we go. Are they going to make it through? Well, somehow, Greg, they all zip in together. Like it's just, you know.
Yeah, and you know, as we saw Jordy Fike there in the 09 machine, all the way driver's right, popping over the first apex curb, mere millimeters away from the Blue Armco, just off his right side door, somehow managed to make it work. Did not, for a moment there, looked as though he was going to slide right across and into the rear bumper of the 231 machine. He was able to not only hold off getting into Forster, but also keep that car straightened up here as we take a look. Tim,
ran in really deep there. He overshot the corner, and that's what's gifted Lin to pull alongside where he got a much better apex. And this looks like it's the move done for Lin. He's back up into 4th, but Greenfield is just looking in his mirrors, rubbing his hands with glee if he could take them both off the steering wheel right now, Greg, because all this fighting behind him is playing right into his hands of keeping hold of that last place on the podium.
And look at this as we now have just 5 minutes remaining here in our first race of the evening. Morgan Burkhard now has drafted all the way up to the back of the 198 machine to the back of Caleb Patry as they come out of the final corner onto the front straight to complete lap number 7. Burkhard now firmly within the draft, only about 0.3 of a second back, only about half a car length to now as they come through the 90, about a full car length back. But it is definitely battle on for the lead here as Deacon Greenfield doing his best to hold on to third. He's got a whole line of cars behind him that want that last podium position. It's
hard to know where to look right now. We've got a battle for the lead. There's lots of squabbling going on in the group behind them. We're going to see a change for the lead. Well, if Burkhardt's clever about this, he'll have a lunge up the inside. Oh, dab at the brakes there. Interesting. That's going to kill off his momentum. Now, potentially, he may well be saving it for the last lap as it's all happening behind him, though.
Yeah, and we saw as they came up through the S's, Wanchi Lin went very wide, and he is dealing with a very loose car there. As you can see, as he comes out of the bus stop, rear end steps out on him. He's going to lose a lot of pace coming through the outer loop as Jordy Fike looks to take over 6th position. Cannot get it done, though, as they head down through the carousel. But at least for another danger zone for Deacon Greenfield, he manages to hold off Yoshikawa as they come down into the boot.
I think we've got more chance of getting the winning numbers on the state lottery this weekend than what we've got of trying to work out how this lot are going to sort themselves out and have that last place on the podium. As that for Burkhard, I think he's going to leave it until the last lap. Just sit behind Patry, just pressure him. Maybe have a little bit of a look at the inside, but not actually make the move. Try to almost mind punt him. So force him into making an unforced error where he either misses his braking point, his turn-in point, doesn't quite hit the apex, and then he'll pounce like a cheetah stalking its prey. Failing that, if Patry can keep his head in the game, I expect Burkhard to make a slipstream move into the bus stop on the final lap.
Yeah, and that is what he's going to need to do, as we've got now just 2.5 minutes remaining here, and that means as they come across the stripe, 2 laps to go here from Watkins Glen, as Patry continues to lead this race as he has from I believe lap 3 on when we had that big incident down in the inner loop in the bus stop here. And we'll see if Burkhard decides to wait until the final lap, or if he's going to try to move to the inside now. I suspect that Patry, very cagey competitor, might try to keep that car just a little bit to the inside, not give Burkhard quite enough room to move to the inside. And well, Tim, I'm wrong, you're right, and as Burkhard decides to fall in. Here we go, 4 wide into the bus stop. Greenfield, the first car in, then Yoshikawa, then Beans Forster as they come around, and it looks like it's 3 wide coming out of the bus stop right behind as Jordy Fike manages to hold off Josh Soto and Wanchi Lin. Now, as these racers know that time is running out, only 1.5 minutes left on the clock. They'll be getting the white flag the next time they cross the start-finish line. And for the moment, Deacon Greenfield cements that 3rd place position, but he's got to hold this whole field off now of another 6 cars for another lap and a half.
It is some crazy racing, and we're going on that group behind where they're constantly swapping and trading places left, right and centre. But Greenfield somehow still remains at the helm. I'm intrigued to see how that's going to play out and whether he can just about hold on. But it's this battle for the lead. As they come around across the line, they're going to see the white flag here, Greg, and that's where I expect out of the 90, Burkhardt's going to line up the move, get alongside, squeeze up the inside into the bus stop. Or am I going to be wrong? Well, we'll find out literally in moments' time.
That's right. As they come onto the front straight, white flag is in the air. Last lap for Spec Miata here from Watkins Glen on the Esports Racing League. You can see Burkhard giving a little bit of a little love tap there, a little bit of a bump draft going down in the 90, maybe trying to get into Patry's head, loosen him up just a little bit as they now start to make their way through turn 2 and up through the S's. And this is where, and we'll see here, whether or not Burkhard decides to stay driver's left as they come out of the corner. Indeed, he does. And whether he's going to be able to come around driver's left around the 198 machine using the pace that he picked up in the draft, and whether he can get by. But for the moment, the 198 machine, he's going to have position going down into the bus stop. But Burkhard gets fully around Patry on the very last time going into the bus stop, and on the last lap, he takes over the lead. Deacon Greenfield again manages to hold off Yoshikawa and Forster. Oh, and a tap from Forster into the back of Yoshikawa. Yoshikawa gets into the back of Greenfield, and Greenfield falls out of line. Yoshikawa now moving up into third, Forster fourth, then Josh Soto in the 07 machine, our pole sitter from tonight. Then we've got Jordy Fike and Wan Chi Lin. Deacon Greenfield, who just about 10 seconds ago was running in third, he is now running all the way back in 8th place, and a distant 8th place, as this field works their way up through the toe of the boot, battling it out for third spot. The last step on the podium is Morgan Burkhard coming down into the heel. He's got Patry. Patry makes a lunge down to the inside of turn 8. He's going to push Burkhard wide, but Patry cannot get around. Just 3 more corners remain as Burkhard now opens up with a 3-car length advantage over Patry. Then we've got Yoshikawa, who's gotten around Forster. So move Yoshikawa up into third, Forster, then Josh Soto sitting now back in 5th position as they fan out coming through turn 9 with only 2 corners remaining. As we take a look here now as our leader comes across and taking the win, Morgan Burkhard in the number 40 machine from All Sports Racing. He is your winner tonight in race 1. Caleb Patry finishes second. And now look at the drag race coming out of 11. It is Forster and Yoshikawa, and Josh Soto at the line moves from 5th to 3rd, takes the last step on the podium, gets a great run out of turn 11, goes past both Forster and Yoshikawa. And you can see there Yoshikawa just, I think, absolutely stunned, finishing in 5th when he was in 3rd coming out of the last corner. Just pile drives the wall. But Tim, what an amazing finish for 3rd.
I'm speechless. I mean, Yoshikawa, to put it in perspective, just look at the relative time differences. Soto, in the gap between himself and Forster, so the winning margin, the margin of that group between first and second out of that little group was 11 hundredths of a second. Forster was merely a few thousandths of a second in front. We're going to see it all play out, so you can see them all just about coming to line, and this is where Soto gets the brilliant run, aces it, amazing out of the final corner, and here we go. Wow, someone get their cigarette papers out, because you can only just about squeeze that in, and as they come across the line, I still can't get over how close that was, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, that is just amazing. And you look at that replay and you see how things could have played out differently, Tim. You saw where Yoshikawa, as he came out of turn 10, stayed very, very tight, very far to driver's right going into the final corner, maybe giving more ground than he needed to Beans Forster, and really compromised his exit out of the final corner. Beans Forster, who had his car all the way driver's left coming out of 11, shifted over driver's right, much closer to Yoshikawa, and opened up the lane for Soto, who had that great run coming out of 11, and Soto manages to go ahead and take 3rd spot. So let's do this. Tim, we've got all 3 of our podium finishers, and hopefully we've got enough time to fit them all in. But let's do this. Let's first go to Josh Soto, our pole sitter tonight, driver of the 07 car, coming home in 3rd tonight in Spec Miata.
Josh, wow. As you came across the line, did you have any idea you'd managed to squeeze it onto the podium?
Man, when I was coming into the last corner, I kind of seen the opportunity, but man, it was I had no idea that I was gonna come away with the 3rd.
I mean, I've done a lot of broadcasts, and I've seen a lot of crazy finishes, but that is right up there at the top for closest finishes. I mean, 3 wide across the line, thousandths of a second separating all three of you. I think it was literally about 0.02 of a second. It was absolutely amazing. But obviously, the start, you know, you got away really well. And then that incident at the bus stop, it just it made your race a lot more harder.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was yeah, after that I think I'm not sure if I had got any damage, but I think I might have gotten a little bit of damage. It made it a little bit more difficult to, catch up to the pack and everything, but eventually I was able to catch up to the pack and uh yeah, just try to come with the third.
Oh, yeah, exactly, and congratulations on that. That's Josh Soto, who picked up a third place by the skin of his teeth here today at Watkins Glen. Great.
All right, there we go. All right, thanks so much, Josh. And let's, because I know we're running a little short on time here before our next race, let's quickly move over to Caleb Patry, driver of the 198 machine, finishing second tonight in MX5s.
Caleb, wow, led so much of it, and in the end, and he came away with a second place. I mean, you gave it a good go on that last lap, but just missed that slight cutting edge.
Yeah, going into the race, I made a gamble on the setup, and ultimately, I just, for the majority of that race, I just did not have any grip on turning, so I was really having to kind of just take it easy through pretty much every corner, and as a result, Morgan was able to catch me quickly, and I had one opportunity there on the last lap and tried sending it, but again, I just couldn't turn and didn't really want to take Morgan out, so I backed out. But yeah, it was a fun race there with Morgan, as always.
I definitely looked that way, but coming into this race, I'm sure you would have been happy with a second. It's not a bad result to walk away from Watkins Glen with.
Yeah, no, certainly after that incident right in front of me, I've very easily been involved in. I'm happy to walk away with a second and a shot at the win.
Congratulations, either way, on the second place. That's Caleb Patry, who finished second here today in the Spec Miatas at Watkins Glen.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much to Caleb Patry. And so, Tim, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We're going to thank some of our sponsors. We'll get set up for our second race of the evening in Spec Racer Sports. And of course, if you like what you see here tonight, and that was just not only an amazing finish, an amazing race in Spec Miata, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click on that notification bell so you can find out about all the best virtual and greatest virtual motorsports from around the world, seemingly 24/7. Tim will tell you it's seemingly 24/7, as it's about 3 o'clock in the morning for him. And but you'll be glad that you did. So let's do this. Let's take that break. We'll be back here in just a few moments from Watkins Glen International for race number 2 of the Ray Esports Racing League's Summer Tour, presented by Spec Racer Sports, Alliance Autosport, and Grassroots Motorsports Magazine.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen International for week number 3 here of the Esports Racing League Summer Tour. I'm Greg Ginsberg along with Tim Cox, and again, great finish. If you missed race number 1, definitely recommend that you go back and catch the replay here. Congratulations to Morgan Burkhard, Caleb Patry, and Josh Soto on the podium. And so we've got our Spec Racer Ford drivers out on track right now for their 15-minute qualifying, and we're almost 2/3 of the way through qualifying, and only 6 drivers have managed to set times. But let's do this. Let's give these drivers maybe a few more moments to get at least one lap in the books, and we'll take a look at the point standings here, both for Spec Racer Ford, but we're going to start off with Formula 4, who is not racing tonight, as we mentioned. We're going to see them for their 3rd race of the season next week, but they did race 2 weeks ago at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park at Mosport, where Morgan Burkhard took the win. Caleb Patry finished 2nd. Does this sound familiar to you? And Zach Burke, at his home track in the Team Esport Racer Machine, came home with the final step on the podium. Jordy Fike finished 4th, and then Tyler Campbell rounded out the top 5. If we take a look at the point standings now in the championship for F4, with 2 races in the books, Morgan Burkhard currently your points leader with 51 points, with I think 2 wins in the books. Caleb Patry with 42 points running 2nd. Then Justin Huffman, Formula Car racer in real life, he is currently sitting 3rd with 36 points. And then we've got a tie for 4th between Zach Burke and Jordy Fike. All right, so let's then take a look at Spec Racer Ford. And it's been a couple weeks, Tim, since we've seen the Spec Racer Ford's race. It's actually been, I think, almost a month now since we saw them on track. Antonio Rice took the win in round number 2 for the Spec Racer Fords. This was at Road America. Then Jamison Huffman finishing 2nd with Wan Chi Lin, Brian Schmaltz, and Caleb Patry. That was your top 5. And if we take a look at the point standings now, it is tight at the top of the leaderboard. But knowing that one of the drivers is not here tonight, things are going to change considerably, as Wan Chi Lin is currently your points leader in Spec Racer Ford with 43 points. Jamison Huffman, as well as his father Justin, running 2nd and 3rd in the championship. Jamison only a point back from our points leader Wan Chi Lin with 42 points. Justin with 29, but neither of those drivers here tonight at Watkins Glen. Then we've got John Wilson, is currently in a tie for 4th position with Josh Justice. Both of those drivers with 27 points, and Charles Vaccaro, a Spec Racer Ford driver in real life, and actually Watkins Glen, I believe, is his home track. He is only a single point back right now, 6th in the championship. So let's take a look, Tim, here at what we've got going on track here is now it looks like we've got at least a few more drivers who've managed to get in good laps here in qualifying.
I suspect a lot of them are picking up off tracks at the exit of turn 1, the 90. Very easy to do so now with this rescan model of Watkins Glen. And obviously if they have an off track, so if they just cross across the white line a bit too far, well, beyond the curves in the case of that turn 1, the 90, then they have their time deleted. Now currently we've got Burkhard, Greenfield, Yoshikawa, who've all been victims of having their times deleted. Murphy Nichols, he's just on his first out lap. I'm really intrigued to see how he gets on in the number 5 machine, telling out the 90 up through the S's now. Now Lynn, as you mentioned, his championship rivals, they aren't here. This is a big day for Lynn. Now will we see him play the numbers game, play it a bit safe, bank a decent position, not too many risks, knowing that his rivals aren't here, or we're going to see him drive the wheels off that Spec Racer and go for gold? Knowing Yang Lin, like I do, I watch him a lot in the SRF Weekend Warriors, another Ray Esports series, and he will be absolutely going for that first place here today at the Glen.
Yeah, and he has shown time and time again that he has a mastery of this platform that many of the other racers here do not. So we'll see how he does, but currently he is qualified in 5th position, quite a bit off our provisional pole setting time of 204.90 from Morgan Burkhard, and you can see there Wanchi Lin at a 205.90, almost a full second off of Burkhard's times, but we have only 30 seconds remaining on the clock here, and we'll see if Lynn can get in a lap here to move up in the order. Of course, we saw him as the clock ran down and the checkered flag flew in the Miata qualifying that he wasn't able to get his last flying lap in the books. But we'll have to see here, and we'll also have to check in on Murphy Nichols in that number 5 machine, working his, as we said, basically his only lap here. Whether or not he can get a time in the books and move off of that final position.
He's putting in a good lap at the moment, so it's going to be intriguing to see how Nichols gets on. Riding, he didn't have his time deleted. No, he didn't. All good. He's up into 9th there, Greg, so a solid opening lap for him. Unfortunately, that's the only shot he's going to get as Lynn's going to head across the line. We're going to see him jump up at all. Well, let's find out. He's only had improvement in 2 of the sectors, so it's an improvement in... No, it's not... well, he's improvement in time, but not in place.
Not in place, exactly. So he's going to start 6th. He knocked about 0.04 of a second off of his previous fast time. Puts in a 205.85 for his final flying lap. As we track right now, Nagasa Yoshikawa in the number 98 machine, as he crosses the stripe, trying to get out of 15th position, and indeed he does. He is going to start 7th here, assuming nobody else can move up. We've got a few more drivers left. Deacon Greenfield, who put in that valiant fight in the Miatas just a few moments ago, on his last flying lap here, on his 5th flying lap, and we'll see if he can move up. He is currently slotted to start 15th. And we'll see if he puts in a lap time. He does. He gets a 207.41 in the books. That is going to move him up into 12th position. So still a couple of drivers, and we're watching now Josh Justice on his final flying lap. Josh out of California, a Spec Racer Ford racer in real life. We'll see if he can improve on his 8th position. And he does manage to leapfrog Yoshikawa. He's going to move up to 8th, up to 7th here tonight. So with qualifying now done, let's take a look at our starting order for tonight's race.
So Morgan Burkhard on pole with Geordie Fife joining him on the front row for company. Schmalz and Wilson there on the second row with Patry and Yang Lin. Again, maybe not the best of qualifying from Lynn. We saw it in the Miatas, seen it again here in the Spec Races, but an improvement in terms of him being on the third row of the grid. Justice and Yoshikawa, they're on your fourth row of grid with Bernard and Nichols. They're going to round out your top 10 and the fifth row of the grid. Charlie Vaccaro has Deacon Greenfield, who's going to feel a bit of grief that he didn't pick up the third place in the Miatas, looking for a bit of redemption here in the Spec Races. Casey, he's got Joaquin Effinger for joining him for company on the seventh row of the grid. And then Greg Mack and Stephen Blethen are going to round out your 16-car grid. What's going to be an absolute epic one, even if it's just half as good as what the Miatas were, Greg. This is going to be an absolute belter.
All right, and the pace lap now underway, and a little surprise there to see Stephen Blethen jump in. He did not take the car out for qualifying, and we said he's going to start at the tail end of the field here. And let's see, I'm looking here, Tim, and trying to figure out if we actually had the pace car out there. Oh yeah, we did have the pace car out there. For a moment I thought that this was queued up for a standing start as I saw the lights go out there. But yeah, we are on our pace lap. Pardon me, everybody. I think perhaps I've had a little bit too much of Red Bull and vodka here this evening. All right, so let's do this.
Maybe not enough.
Or maybe not enough, exactly. All right, so on our pace lap here, let's talk about our sponsor for tonight's second and final race of the evening, and that is Spec Racer Sports. And Spec Racer Sports, they've got one mission, and that is to help fuel and support your addiction to road racing. They feel that the way to accomplish this is by providing exceptional customer support, the parts and services you need when you need them at a fair, competitive price. Spec Racer Sports currently stables Spec Racer Fords at Motorsports Ranch Houston and offers rental cars that are exceptionally prepared. They provide access to the track for rental or a test drive, and in addition to that, they offer new car sales, storage, and support, as well as a complement of technical services such as chassis dyno work, driver coaching, and fabrication, all offered at very competitive rates. To find out more about Spec Racer Sports and their services, head on over to specracersports.com. And yeah, not the finest 15 minutes or so of my my announcing career there, Tim, or 5 minutes as the case may be. Just seems like time was standing still for a moment here as the field is making their way down towards the toe of the boot. And so, as we said, surprising there to see Stephen Blethen. Greg Mack also spent the majority of that qualifying session on the pit lane. Maybe he thought that he was getting the preemptive repairs done after that big wreck in the Spec Miata race. I'm not sure. But Greg Mack many times finds himself, I think, by no fault of his own, caught up in other people's incidents. And I guess we'll see how he does from the tail end of the field there as Morgan Burkhard and Jordy Fike lead the field up towards turn 9 here. But Tim, a lot of the same things that we talk about in the Spec Miatas and the MX-5s, they hold true for the Spec Racer Fords as well. These cars are very susceptible to the draft, or they work very well in the draft. You can see even the bodies seem to be perfectly shaped for it, as you can slot the nose of the car right under the ducktail rear of the car behind. And you're just seemingly never safe from a pack that is behind you.
You're definitely not. These, as you mentioned, these guys absolutely love the slipstream, Greg, and I get the feeling whoever's first into turn 1 won't be first when they exit the bus stop.
Green flag.
All right, so Morgan Burkhard has the field as they head onto the front street, and green flag is in the air. Morgan Burkhard breaks out to a little bit of an advantage over Jordy Fike, but Fike has John Wilson in that blue number 82 machine, giving a little bit of a shove down into turn 1, but then falls off the back and actually drops a number of positions, falls back into 5th position. It is Burkhard and Fike nose to tails. They come up through the S's for the very first time. Then we've got Brian Schmaltz in that Gulf livery number 194 machine, John Wilson in the 15, then Yoshikawa and Wanshi Lin now finally getting straightened up. And look at this, as he made a great start in the Spec Miata race. We've got Deacon Greenfield on the outside lane trying to fight his way up through through the field and makes up a position. He's now up in 11th, as we've got the two teammates, Morgan Burkhard and Caleb Patry, running together. Looks like Murphy Nichols, though, he is going to go around at the bus stop. He's going to fall towards the back of the field. The number 5 machine going to have to work his way back up from the 15th position. Looks like Greenfield had issues as well going through the bus stop. And a big gap there now as we look at Josh Justice in the 99 machine running 7th, Yoshikawa, Benna, Greenfield, Vaccaro now fanning out going into turn 7, Tim.
Murphy Nichols nearly got the car at the 90-degree angle and still managed to save it. I don't know how he's managed that, because when I get the car to anyway, like remotely near a slide, it's all over the place and it's game over for me. But I tell you what, we've got some epic battles going on. They fully picked up where the Miatas left off only minutes ago, and we've got 2 wides. We've got 3 wides here, Greg. Left, right, and centre. It's hard to know where to look in these opening stages.
There you go. And so Wanchi Lin in the white and orange number 30 machine, he gets around Josh Wilson. Wilson has had, I don't want to say it is a disastrous start. He's started 4th. He's now sitting back in 6th after having worked his way up into 3rd position for a corner or 2. But Wanchi Lin now trying to make his charge up. He's got a long way to go, though, to get up to Brian Schmaltz. He's got about 6, I'd say about 5 car lengths that he has to make up there as they come down the front straight after having completed lap number 1. Deacon Greenfield going to try to sneak underneath the 99 machine of Josh Justice and doesn't get it done yet, but it seemingly two groups here. We've got Greenfield and Justice. We've got Nichols and Vaccaro. They had been side by side going into 1. That's how they finished lap number 1 as well, as they fan out once again, coming down the straight and head towards the bus stop.
It's going to be a hold on to your hats moment for these first. Well, we're only 3 minutes in out of 20, 17 still to go here, Greg. And this is going to finish pretty much like we started. There's a real bump across the curves there from Yoshikawa. He's trying to get into the back of the 71 there, but well held. He's lost a little bit of time, and then what that's done is just backed him up a little bit into Josh Justice. Now, this brings about its own problems, because then you're not only concentrating on the car in front of you and looking to make the move, but you also have eyes in the back of your head.
That's
right.
right.
The car behind you's doing it, but having said that, Justice not getting the best of exits there, and he's now coming under pressure from Greenfield. Really ebbing and flowing, this little group here.
Yeah, as they seem to accordion-like stretch out and compress once again. As we now have Murphy Nichols trying to get around Charles Vaccaro, coming down into the heel of the boot and under-braking Murphy Nichols now move him up into 11th position. Oh, yes, and going around, that is Charles Vaccaro in the 221 machine coming through turn number 8. He goes around, and now you see him there. He's got the car on the pit lane. Let's take a look at the replay, Tim.
So it wasn't all of his fault. He was caught out by, there we go, yeah, the number 71 who had a spin and they just picked the wrong way to go. We're going to see the contact any second there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, the innocent bystander.
Yeah, all the other drivers, they picked the left lane. They went to the outside of Benna as he lost the rear end, and the one driver to move drivers right and try to sneak down that little sliver of pavement drivers right was Charles Vaccaro, and Vaccaro now has some time to think about it on the pit lane.
Lovely exit out of the 90 there from Yoshikawa to the outside line, just swooped down and got a fantastic line as Lin's just got himself up into 4th place. He's out and dragged Schmaltz there to get himself up into 4th, but this top group just remaining orderly. But this group, well, 2 groups behind, anything but.
Oh, Greenfield runs wide after the second apex, and looks as though he may have avoided the wall, but he did not avoid losing 3 positions. He's going to fall back into 12th position. Let's take a look at the replay there. Got it locked up pretty quickly. And a nice recovery there, and that's another one of those changes there in the rescan, and as the Glen is in real life now, where it is all pavement there. Years ago when I started racing at Watkins Glen, it was all gravel, and that would have been race over in the olden days for Deacon Greenfield, but he does continue.
The good old days, hey,
That's
Greg.
right.
You're starting to show your age now, I bet.
Yes.
I tell you what, it's just seeing Nichols there. That's another place. Oh, an elbows out there against Justice to squeeze through. It also means that Yoshikawa's just followed Nichols there. But I'll tell you what, Nichols has really got the bit between his teeth after that half spin he had in the opening stages at the bus stop. Dropped a few places, came back up again, now up into 7th. That's up 3 places from where he started in 10th. Really, really going for it. Greg Mack, another one you mentioned, he's climbed 5. He's up into 10th right now. There are some big place gainers out there. Equally, a few losers as well, and a few in between.
Yeah, and we see right behind him with the New England region logo on the left front there, Andrew Benna, who is currently sitting down in 11th. We saw that spin that he had over at the heel of the boot just a few laps ago, and he started in 9th, trying to work his way back up. See if he can find his way around Greg Mack here. But you're right, Murphy Nichols, he's got a great run going on right now, as he's just ahead of Justice and Yoshikawa. And you know that a lap ago when he came underneath Justice going into turn 8, I'm pretty sure Justice just did not expect that move from him here. But great little battle going on between Yoshikawa and Justice, as Yoshikawa now gets around the number 99 machine. So move Josh Justice back into 9th. And I think even with this battling, they're starting to make up a little bit of ground on John Wilson that last time by. Actually, it looks like Wilson.
We've had a change for the lead.
Yes, we have, as Caleb Patry gets around Morgan Burkhard, coming down through the carousel, going into the toe of the boot. But Tim, I don't think the battle's over yet.
It certainly really doesn't seem that way. It's constantly trading places, but this is going to allow Lynn to catch up as Patry trying to run it right around the outside now. Greg, that's going to give him the inside line now for turn 7, and there you go, just slots it through like the postman.
Well, not.
Well, maybe not, maybe not, because here comes Fike now. He's wanting a piece of the action. I was just about to say Caleb Patry being like the postman, always delivering, but
yeah,
not on that occasion.
But you know what, Burkhard made that really, really late entry into turn 9, squared off the exit, and carried a lot more speed than I would have expected. But we saw him make that exact same move on Deacon Greenfield in the Miata race as well. So perhaps it shouldn't be that much of a surprise as Burkhard works his way back to the lead. But you know, the counterpoint to that is, as those two drivers were side by side for 2 corners and the sole of the boot, that allowed Wanshi Lin to make up a lot of ground that last time by. Almost a full second did he make up on our top 3 drivers. And of course, Jordy Fike, he just had nowhere to go, as he could only sit back and watch the 2 all sports racers ahead of him.
Everyone's swapping places up and down. No.
Well, and there was a swap as Jordy Fike had moved up into 2nd, but Fike now runs off. I don't know if he got that little love tap. Oh, and Lynn, who had made his way up into 3rd as Fike had gone off, he gets the wall coming through the inner loop. Fike retakes, gets around Lynn, but that really mixes things up at the front now as Caleb Patry, who took over the lead. Let's take a look at the replay, and we'll reset the field here first, as we have Morgan Burkhard, driver's right. He comes across, drops in behind Patry, and Fike might have given Fike a little bit of a love tap there going into the bus stop, Tim, and we saw Fike get onto the brakes, lock up the wheels very early, stays off of the guardrail there, as Morgan Burkhard now slots back into 2nd behind the 198 machine. And then right behind that incident that Wanshi Lin had issues through the bus stop. I was wondering, Dennis, if we can get back and see the replay of what happened to Wanshi as he went into the bus stop.
I think he was a little bit spilled by Fike.
Yeah.
On his corner entry. Oh, there you go. Bounced across the curb. Of course, all the way in the rear, where the engines in these spec racers is in the boot, similar to a Porsche 911.
That's right.
Rear-wheel drive as well, and just those bumps, getting on the power, unsettle the car. Round he goes and purchases himself a one-way ticket to the barrier on the inside there, Greg. But there's a bit of bump drafting going on down the start-finish straight between Burkhard and Patry.
That's right. As Patry has Burkhard move that little mail slot of an air intake right up to the gearbox, the little cage that supports the gearbox here on the back of these Spec Racer Sports, coming up through the S's now, as those two drivers have managed to work their way clear by almost 4 seconds of our new third place runner. That is Brian Schmaltz. You saw him there in that aquamarine, that light blue colored machine. They're just now coming down the short chute into the bus stop. And that is going to move John Wilson now in the 82 machine, now up into fourth, ironically, where he started this race. Then Jordy Fike in the 09 machine, who was able to recover from that wild ride into the bus stop just a lap and a half ago. Jordy Fike now sitting in 5th position.
Let's just see Yoshikawa there with, look who's right behind him. It's
Murphy Nichols.
Yeah. And then a bit further down the road, he's just about out, depending on which camera angle we get, you can sometimes see him. It's Greg Mack. What a race he's had. I've climbed 7 places, hands down, the highest position gainer here today.
That's right, 7 positions gained now. Right now, Mack doesn't have the benefit of the draft. He's kind of sitting there in no man's land. But, you know, if Yoshikawa and Fike, who's trying to make a bit of a recovery drive, and Murphy Nichols continue to battle it out here, this may provide an opportunity for the number 2 machine to work into this battle here for 5th position.
So close between the 3 of them. As you see, Yoshikawa really out wide there. You can go out there, but not always the quickest line, despite carrying more momentum, Greg. Now Nichols, he's in the power play position here. You can see everything that's happening in front of him, and he's going to get the draft whichever lane he picks off these two. If this is going to be still side by side through and out of the 90, well, yes, they are. And here comes Nichols on the charge. Are we going to have 3 wide at the S's? No. Can't quite get enough momentum here, Greg, but I think he's going to move.
Here comes your 3 wide, Tim, for a moment there.
You could hear Nichols just get out the throttle there, Greg, where a bit uncertain as the gap was closing in front of him. He's up 1 place. That's Yoshikawa, and now bump drafting Fike all the way down to the bus stop.
And Fike is probably having flashbacks right now of a couple laps ago with Burkhard following him in to the bus stop, and gets a little loose over the second apex there, but gathers it back up. Fike is going to hold on to 5th position. And yeah, you know, you saw when Yoshikawa and Fike went down into the 90 in the turn 1, side by side, compromising their exit speed. You know, Nichols, he had designs on coming right down the center, but you know, things closed up very quickly on him, and you heard him, as you mentioned, had to get out of the throttle just because it would have. That is one part of the track there where if you try to go 3 wide, in many instances, a car can and will get loose, and it can really lead to tears for many drivers. Oh, and speaking of leading to tears, Josh Justice, he is off, and looking at the damage, we'll say that he is out. Let's take a look at a replay and see what happened here as he was coming into the final corner, probably coming into the 90 into turn 1. Oh, he got a tap there from Murphy Nichols, of all drivers, sending the 99 car.
I don't think that was the instant, because he hadn't got any damage there.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, certainly not. Let's see if we can pick up. Yeah, I think that was an earlier spin. Yeah, here we go. And this makes sense because well, he may have gotten a tap from Andrew Benna as we saw the 99 run wide and up. Oh, and he just, I think he outbraked himself going into the toe of the boot.
I'm not sure if he's going to get a bit of a tap, and Justice feeling a bit of an injustice for the race that he's had today. But we have while this crazy action has been going on, we've had a change for the lead. Burkhard has passed Patry, but just like we saw in the Miatas, this is not done and dusted. And the only time it'll be completely finalised is when we see the checkered flag, because these two are going to continue to trade places, I get the feeling, Greg.
That's right. We've got just about 4.5 minutes remaining on the clock, and that means about, given the lap times, a little bit over 2 minutes, probably about 3 laps remaining here at Watkins Glen. If my simple napkin and finger now here, and yeah, I guess when we saw that replay of Nichols with Josh Justice, it was much earlier in the race because obviously Nichols is up in this battle right now for 5th. With Jordy Fike in the silver and burgundy 09 Team Esports Racer machine, and then Yoshikawa in the 98 machine. He's now finding himself in the position of the big wall or big hole of air being opened up by Nichols and by Fike as they come down now into turn number 8 into the heel of the boot. And Yoshikawa runs a little wide. Murphy Nichols getting a little defensive, manages to hold off both drivers behind.
This battle completely and utterly fascinates me, Craig, because the way these three are just constantly swapping around, drafting off one another, it's so fascinating to watch out for. But Mac is catching up to the back of them, and that three-way battle could soon become a four-way battle. He's going to need a little bit of luck playing into his hands. You know, he's about 3.5 seconds down the road. We've got 3 minutes left on the clock. But, parent in me wants to come out and say, calm down. If you don't calm down, one of you is going to end up getting hurt.
Yeah. we should have thought about that during the Miata race, but for the moment at least, and and of course again we've got about probably 2 laps to go after this lap. We should probably re-invoke that as Jordy Fike is going to come down the inside of Murphy Nichols. And we're sitting on board right now with Yoshikawa as they come down under braking into the bus stop, and Fike is going to retake 5th position, so move Nichols back into 6th. Yoshikawa kind of just sitting back there trying to formulate a strategy for the remaining laps. And although we said that Mac had been gaining ground that last time by, ran almost 0.8 of a second faster than this trio. Again, a long way to go, and unfortunately not many laps remaining. But there he is, kind of stalking in the background as we jump back to our new leader, Caleb Patry, who has gotten around Morgan Burkhard. Now, remember, in the MX-5s, Burkhard waited until the very last lap, and Patry had talked about how he had run his tires off and didn't think he could hold Burkhard off at the very end of the race. We'll see if that's the case here for the Spec Racer Fords as well. But Tim, this time coming out of turn 9, Burkhard didn't take that advantage that he had a couple of laps ago, where he was able to carry a lot more speed through 9 and come underneath Patry. Patry now very clearly getting defensive with Burkhard.
And also, we see Burkhard moving around and updrafting down the straight. Not because they need to. They've got a 7-second advantage over Schmaltz in 3rd place. It's just so Patry knows that he's there, and to try and unsettle him, the mind games are fully on here, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is going to be the last lap as well, isn't it? Look at the clock.
It is. White flag is in the air here from the Glen, so time running out for Morgan Burkhard. We'll see how many mind games he has left to play here with Caleb Patry. Patry is sticking the car all the way down driver's right. He's convinced that he is going to be the first driver into the bus stop. Once Burkhard opens things back up, Patry then slides over just a little bit to driver's left to open that corner up just a little bit, and he manages to hold Burkhard off through the bus stop as we jump back now in this battle for seemingly never-ending battle for 5th between Nichols, Yoshikawa, and Fike. Yoshikawa manages to muscle around Jordy Fike as they come out of the bus stop. They're coming up on some slower traffic. They're coming up on the 15 machine as well of Greenfield, probably the 36 machine of Greenfield. But here we go in that battle for the lead now, coming out of the toe, side by side. It's Burkhard and Patry. Morgan Burkhard to driver's right. He's got the position if he can use it and get on the brakes a little bit later going into turn number 8. But Patry's going to try to make the pass from the long way around. And he has now position going into turn number 9. and Patry, for the moment, manages to hold off Burkhard. Burkhard not quite close enough to do that over-under like he did earlier on in the race. Now with just 2 corners remaining, Patry, can he hold off Morgan Burkhard as they now have just 1 more corner? And as they come onto the front straight, will Burkhard be able to slingshot past the 198 machine? He's going to try. It's a long run down to the checkered flag, and as they come across the line, Morgan Burkhard takes the win. Margin of victory. What is the margin of victory? It is not 0.00 seconds. It is almost a dead heat, but Morgan Burkhard will take the win over Caleb Patry. Brian Schmaltz, he will come home in 3rd. Wilson will come home in 4th. Murphy Nichols comes home in 5th. And Tim?
Something's happened to Yoshikawa on that last lap. He's showing us onto our software as being in the pits.
Yeah,
so I think, well, I mean, the way that those 3 were going at it, we said about it earlier, you know, it was going to end in tears for someone. Hopefully this replay will give us some answers. So he's at the lead of the train. Oh, he's done it by himself, Craig.
Yes, he went off, and he opened the door for Murphy Nichols, and it looks like as he got out of the groove, he just ended up putting the car off driver's left, the exact same place that we saw Josh Justice in the number 99 machine go off. And that was one heck of a finish, as now Burkhard, Patry, and I guess Murphy Nichols joining in on the fun there for some post-race pit partying, I guess we can say here. But an amazing finish, and I'm still trying to get
Greg,
what the actual gap was.
I've got it for you.
All right.
2 thousandths of a second.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
Put it in perspective, Greg. At the blink of an eye, it's 0.3 of a second.
Well, there you go. Burkhard, he had a great run coming out of the final corner, and and that's the advantage of racing in the Spec Racer Fords, where you can use that draft, and the run out of turn 11 down to the start finish line fairly long here at the Glen, and we saw it in Spec Miata, we saw it again in Spec Racer Ford. You can use that draft and slingshot by the driver ahead and beat them to the checkered flag. So there you go. Morgan Burkhard takes the win. Caleb Patry finishes 2nd. Brian Schmaltz comes home 3rd in the number 194 machine. And we'll see if Caleb and Morgan finish up with their little pit party. Hopefully we'll see them here in the green room, and there they are. Let's jump over to Caleb Patry first, driver of the 198 machine, finishing 2nd tonight in Spec Racer Ford.
Caleb. Wow, what a finish. I mean, so close, but yet so far. 2 thousandths of a second at the line.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good race there with Morgan. Could tell he was getting through some of the corners a little bit better than me. I feel a little washed in this car, but still, it was a good battle. I kind of expected him to make the move earlier in the lap, but he didn't. So then it was just kind of, I knew I had to defend the rest of the way, and he just got a good run coming out of the final corner and got me by that little bit.
I mean, he was turning up the pressure dial to, well, beyond the max onto you. Did you feel the pressure in the car, or were you just absorbing it and act like you're out for a Sunday leisurely drive?
I've raced him plenty of times before, so I knew, definitely familiar with his driving style and how he makes moves. So it wasn't anything new, but it definitely was intense. I couldn't just go out there for a leisurely drive. I had to focus on hitting my marks, so it was good.
Wow. I mean, in some ways, congratulations on the 2nd. Commiseration on, well, missing out by the narrowest of margins on the win. That's Caleb Patry, who picked up, well, 2nd, but only just by 2 thousandths of a second here at Watkins Glen.
Yep, thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Caleb Patry finishing 2nd tonight, and so we've got some options here, Tim. We've got Murphy Nichols, who's sitting in the green room. Of course, we know we're going to get to Morgan Burkhard here. Do we want to bring in Murphy to talk about that run from the back of the field up to fifth?
I think we should do. It was an amazing run. So if it can be rude, not so. Murphy Nichols now joins us in the commentary booth. Welcome along. Wow, what a race. I mean, it looked intense, fun, dramatic. Put us inside the car. What was it like for yourself?
It was definitely fun nonetheless. I mean, obviously these are very draft heavy cars, so the original goal was to stay in the pack. Had a little incident at the start, so then it became just kind of finish as high as I could. When I realized like I wasn't gonna catch back up to the main group of like Morgan and Caleb and those guys. So it was kind of like me, Nagisa, Josh, and I don't know why I'm blanking on his name.
Geordie. That was the other one. Oh, he just seems to have.
Well, in past seasons, Tim, we've had issues with Murphy's car blinking in and out. That apparently the internet connection. There he is. He's back in the green room now. Let me bring him back in. Apparently, the internet connections in Frederick, Maryland, aren't exactly the most stable. So
no, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. I hit the wrong button.
Oh, geez, way to go! All right,
dear.
Tim,
All right.
back to Murphy.
Sorry. As I was saying. Yeah, so it was us four. We were having a good battle. I feel bad for Josh. I had an incident in turn one. That completely my fault. I'll take full responsibility for it. Ended up having a good battle to the line with Jordy. I don't know what the gap was, but overall it was a good race. Glad to be back with these guys.
You had a much larger gap than what we had for the lead. I mean, that was 2 thousandths of a second at the line. Yours was a much more leisurely 600ths a second. Incredibly close stuff. Even so, I mean, all things considered, surely you've got to be happy with a fifth.
Oh yeah, I'm totally happy with this.
Great to talk to you, Murphy. That's Murphy Nichols, who finished fifth today here after starting 10th at Watkins Glen. And, well, Greg, should we have a bit of a chat to our winner?
Yeah, I mean, in a way as well. We didn't get to him after the Spec Miata race when he took the win there. So I think it's only fitting that we finally give him maybe a little airtime tonight. Morgan Burkhard, driver of the number 40 All Sports Racing Spec Racer 4-year winner tonight here at Watkins Glen.
A double winner. In fact, I mean, well, the win, though, if in the Spec Racers, you couldn't get much closer than that 2 thousandths of a second at the line.
Yeah, no, that was insane. After I didn't get him going into the heel of the boot, I was just like, oh, okay, might be over. But I managed to somehow pull a run out of somewhere, going through the final corner, and got him before the line by literally nothing, like piece of paper. That was a lot of fun.
I definitely looked at it, and we didn't get a chance to speak to you after the Miata race either. I mean, that one was another absolutely crazy race as well, with a run to the line and real hard-fought battles. I mean, put us inside the car for the Miata race. The drama that was unfolding, it looks incredibly tense and sat up here in the commentary booth. Was it like that for you in the car?
Yeah, after the first, I think it was the second lap when we had the incident in the bus stop, it was kind of just put your head down, get as far back up through the field as possible, and I was lucky that nothing strung out enough so that it lost the draft, and Caleb was still had Deacon and I think Jordy still in touch with him, so I was able to kind of hop from car to car in the draft. And after I got to Caleb, I was just like, all right, I'll sit here and wait until the last lap to make my move.
Yeah, it definitely seemed that way, and for yourself, it was. I mean, yourself and Caleb have had 2 incredible battles tonight. You've done the double over in both times. I mean, could you have hoped for anything much better coming into this round?
Not really, no. I mean, we're looking really good. I got the double win 2 weeks ago at Motorsport. I got the double win this week, so everything's going really well right now. Yeah, nothing really more I could have asked for today.
Should we put a little bet on double win next time out at Road Atlanta?
Well, if we bet on it, then it won't happen. But
well, that is very true, and don't want to put the curse of the commentator onto you, but no,
that's
definitely,
my job.
Well, exactly, Greg, exactly. But no, Watkins Glen, that is Morgan Burkhard. Congratulations to yourself, and we'll see you in a week's time at Road Atlanta.
Thank you very much.
All right, there you go. Thanks so much for joining us, Morgan, and congratulations on your 2 wins here tonight, following up the 2 wins at Mosport. All right, so as Tim let the cat out of the bag, or the rabbit out of the hat, or one of those euphemisms, let's look ahead a week. And next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to be at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We're going to see the Spec Racer Fords once again on track, as well as the return of the Formula 4 cars. So it should be a great battle. And of course, if you can't make it next week, in 2 weeks, we're going to be at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, where the F4 cars and the Spec Miatas will be on track. And so definitely don't want to miss it. So again, everybody, if you liked what you saw here tonight, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up, and go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV, and click on that notification bell to find out about all the latest motorsports events happening on YouTube. But you can also find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. Just search for one word, Apex Racing TV. So for Tim Cox, for Dennis Branch back behind the scenes, I'm Greg Ginsburg. We'll see you next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Have a great week, everybody.